Hi everyone. I got a video request last week and I very well may break this response down into more than one video because where I want to start off with may not actually answer the original question, but I do want to answer the totality of the request. So obviously I'm sure you can kind of pick up that there were quite a few dimensions involved, but the theme of the question is focused on relationships. So I'm going to start off with what is a relationship? What's a supportive relationship versus what's an abusive one versus what's a codependent kind of relationship? So an abusive relationship is where the one partner or both partners take advantage of each other, where one or both partners do not consider each other, where one or both partners are physically or mentally abusive towards each other, where the nature of the relationship is based on unhealthy dynamics like a power play or like a lot of compromise for one partner and not for the other, where they're not meeting halfway. So that's the kind of gist of an abusive relationship. Now, a codependent relationship is one where both partners are in a form of a dynamic where they're bringing out the worst in each other and they're feeding onto that, or they're feeding the worst in each other and in themselves, and they're essentially, there's no growth in it because both partners stagnate in this dynamic where all that they're doing is feeding onto that those parts of themselves that are brought out by the other person. And to be clear here, when you're in a relationship, it's not that someone else is making you feel a certain way. I cannot make anyone feel anger or joy or fun or sadness. Neither can anyone else make anyone else feel that, okay? We bring out experiences in each other. We trigger these experiences. So where someone in my life is a certain way or does something or says something that triggers an emotional response from me, the only reason that that could happen is because that emotion was inside of me, whether I was aware of it or not, or the potential for that emotion was there. I created it still. We are each the creators of ourselves and our experiences. So that's a very important principle to remember, especially in a relationship, because it's so easy to start playing the blame game and blaming your partner for everything that's wrong in your life. The fact of the matter is that you are the creator of yourself and your life, not anyone else. There may be circumstances in your life or around you in your environment that you have no control over, but how you respond to them is always your choice. So then let's get to what a relationship is, or what a supportive and let's call it a healthy relationship is. Now, part of the question that this individual asks is, if the purpose of a relationship is simply to be supported by it, can I not just do that for myself alone? Yes, you can. Relationships are not, it's not mandatory. There's no rule book somewhere saying that you must be in a relationship. It's a part of what is available to us in this life. And why are relationships supportive? Because it gives you one other person for whom you become responsible in a way, and who becomes responsible for you to a degree. But also, it gives you another person who's always there for a big part of your life, who's going to support you by bringing out the different parts of yourself that otherwise may not have come to the surface. So even the worst parts of us are often brought out in our relationships, in our intimate relationship. And those parts coming out is not a bad thing, because it gives us the opportunity to face those parts of ourselves, to recognize what we haven't dealt with. And very often it's only through a type of relationship where you're spending a lot of time with someone, where you're developing a deep level of intimacy with someone, that actually gives you the opportunity to face all these different parts of yourself. So that's one of the dimensions that makes relationships so supportive. And aside from that, within those situations and those circumstances where those different parts of ourselves come out, obviously now this is within the context of a supportive relationship where both partners are wanting to and willing to support each other even in the worst of times, and where their definition of support is the same. So it means that when I am doing this thing in this particular way, that is how I'm supporting you. And both understand that living action, that living application of support. If both partners are willing to support each other in those most difficult times of our lives, then it gives us that shoulder to lean on, shoulder to cry on. It gives us someone who can maybe see things a little differently to how we see things. Maybe there's some dimension that I missed that my partner will see. And if we've developed our relationship in such a way where we've made it clear to each other that I want you to be honest with me when you see something that I'm doing that is contradicting my principles according to your understanding of them, or that is contradicting something that I've said or done before, or if I have said something that indicates that I have an issue with something, I want you to call me out on it so that I can face it. Don't just let it slide. So if that agreement is in place, then that gives the opportunity for both partners to really benefit from getting our our shit put on the table so that we can look at it. And I don't mean actual poo. I mean all the crap that we let go on in our minds, all the emotional dependencies, the reaction patterns, things that we blame other people for and are not taking responsibility for. So that's another dimension of a supportive relationship. Then, of course, there is the dimension of it gives us the opportunity to express ourselves in ways that we might not be able to do with other people. So, of course, there's the sexual expression and exploration, because sexuality is a continuous discovery of self. It's a continuous discovery of your partner. and that's something that is best done in a relationship where you have that safe space where you can express and explore and be vulnerable and be intimate with someone who's in the same space as you're in, meaning that they have the same goals, they have the same vision. They're not going to judge you, they're going to support you, and you're going to do the same for them. Alright, so that's going to be now the first part of the answer to this post. So I apologize if this is stuff that I've repeated before, but I want to give a comprehensive and a clear response to make sure that I'm not leaving out information and assuming that the person who's asking for this video and who's asking the questions, that he already knows everything that I've discussed before, or knows some of the principles of developing relationships and how relationships work. So part 1 is done. If you have any requests, if you have any questions or comments, you can send me a direct message or leave a comment on the video. If you'd like to support me, you can do that on Patreon or on Steemit, which is like a social network with its own cryptocurrency. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I will see you next time.